Hello, everyone, and welcome to our StayMates Education Series. I'm Tyler Davidson, Vice President and Chief Content Director at StayMates, and joining me today is my colleague, Mariah Obudzinski. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items to review. Today's presentation will last 60 minutes, so please feel free to submit a question at any time by typing a message in the Q&A box. If we are unable to address all questions during the presentation, one of us will follow up with you via email within the next few days. And should you experience any technical difficulties, please send a message in the Q&A box or just call us at 800-553-8878. A copy of the presentation slides and the on-demand recording will be available after the webinar. StayMates is a comprehensive digital marketing, brand development, market research, and creative company. StayMates serves multiple industries, including higher education, and has three media brands: Buildings, which serves the commercial property and facility management market; INS, which serves commercial buildings designers and architects; and Meetings Today, which serves the meetings and conventions industry. In addition, we have an audience management group named Auditive, and Thorburn, which is a full-service branding agency located in Minneapolis that serves consumer and B2B brands. And now I would like to introduce our speaker, Mariah Obudzinski. A leader in conversion-centered content strategies, Mariah has directed multiple enterprise content projects for major academic centers across the U.S. Her areas of expertise include content strategy, writing, subject matter expert, and stakeholder interviews, as well as content marketing initiatives. Mariah holds a BA in journalism and a BA in English from Mount Mercy University. An avid runner, she's competed in several marathons and ultra-distance foot races. And with that, I'll hand it over now to Mariah. Welcome, Mariah.
Thanks, Tyler. Yes, as Tyler mentioned, I am a runner, and that is why I'm a little tired today. But thank you all for joining us today. Again, we'll be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is calls to action, or CTAs. We'll go through some of the basics. We'll talk through how to mingle strategy with storytelling. We'll show you some examples from industry giants as well as some of our clients, and then we'll talk through how to measure the effectiveness of those calls to action. Let's jump right in here with the strategy basics. Thinking about what a call to action really is. What is that natural next step that you want your users to take? It's not always that register now or that buy today or learn more. Sometimes it's watch the videos. Sometimes it's do a little bit more digging for your own research, asking for additional information, or getting a sample of your product. Depending on what industry you're in, what point that buyer is or that consumer is in their journey with your brand, and whether they've established that relationship of trust with you. All of those things go into what your calls to action should be. So, really having to understand that user, understand what they're trying to get from you, and understanding really what it is specifically that you're trying to give them or get them to do. Here's a couple of examples here of different types of calls to action that you see on this page. The first circle there on the right, you see it's shop, paint, and color. So that's a very direct call to action. It's for those individuals who are ready to go. They're ready to get their weekend warrior on and paint their rooms. You also have a couple of softer pieces down here in the navigation. Product data sheets, that's that simple download information, request information type of a call to action for individuals that are still researching. And then you also have something like order free paint chips, order free color samples. Get them engaged with your brand, help them take that next step to decide if you're the company for them. We've seen, education groups do similar things with view books. For hospitals, for example, it might be get our brochure. You just have to think about those relevant conversion steps that are appropriate for your audience and where they are. You have all of these different goals for your CTAs, and your users have different goals as well. So they might be wanting to get information from you. They might just be learning about your brand or your corporation, your company for the first time. The whole goal for CTAs is to make it really easy for them to take the next natural step and get your services as easily as possible with as few clicks and action steps as possible. That easy relationship that help me help you kind of give and take allows you to make more sales, earn that loyalty and increase engagement and turn these people from just visitors to your site into cheerleaders for your brand over the long term. When we're thinking about our CTA strategies, the best follow this list. This is not all inclusive, but these are some of the top 6 items that we typically look for when we're helping our clients work with CTA strategies. You want to focus on that audience. You'll hear me say that a bunch of times throughout this webinar. The audience's needs are very important. They should mirror your business goals, but what you really want to focus on is what does that audience need and want from you. Your CTA should be built on digital best practices, making sure your color elements are appropriate for screen reader usage. Make sure that your contrast is good. Make sure your words that you choose are action oriented and not passive. Make sure they're very specific so your users know exactly what they're going to get when they click or when they download that information from you. They should be driven by data, which just means you're tracking what is working and what is not working on your page. And for those items that are not working, you're making changes to make them work better. Your pages and your CTAs should be designed with relevant user journey pathways. And that's just a fancy way of saying what makes the most sense for the reader. Where should their eyes go on the page? What should their next step be so that they can get the information they need? All CTAs that are good are educational and entertaining. It doesn't mean every single button on your page has to make somebody laugh or pause and think, boy, that was very poignant. You just have to be able to address that need in a way that is friendly and warm and infused with those different media and text elements. So you're coming through with this authoritative knowledge, but also this personable, individualized experience for your users with every touch point, with every CTA. So when we're thinking about our calls to action, you can really break it apart into these 4 elements: the call to action and response. So the call is what you're going to say and how you're going to generate that user's action. The to element is how you're going to get them to that conversion action. What is the path you're going to send them through? The action is what will happen and what they'll do once they make that move on your page. And the response is how you reciprocate when they call you, when they message you, when they download your information. So call to action response. And we'll just talk through how that works out as a strategy paired with your brand storytelling. So really with this combination approach, you're setting up a structure for connected, action-driven user journeys. So every single element of your CTA, from the pictures you use to the words you choose to the placement on the page, should reflect that user journey. That's what I mean when I refer to pathways. So speaking to them, speaking to the visitor, to the user in the way that they want to be spoken to, that they need to hear in order to make the action that you want them to take. Using the proper words to incite emotion or incite action or get them really jazzed up about what you're trying to give them. And where their eyes fall on the page, where their screen reader picks up that information, and how you're breaking up pieces of text in different sections of your pages. All of that needs to reflect the user's end goal. So one of the best examples that we've found with using CTAs on page is Veridesk. They are rock stars, and we all on this call have probably used some of their equipment at some point in our magical work from home journey that we've all undertaken over the last year. Looking at this page, it's a very busy visual landing page, but not in a way that is obtrusive. The colors really balance out nicely. They don't detract from the messaging. In fact, they add to it. So let's just kind of walk through here and show the different call to action response steps on this page. The initial call is work from anywhere. All of us can relate to that message, or the majority of us can relate to that message. We want to be able to work in the place that makes us comfortable, in a place that we can get our work done. And we also don't want to have to slouch and be all uncomfortable to do that. So using those impactful words, work from anywhere, very simple, gives you that whole visual of what you're looking for. And it really speaks to the user, making them want to take action. What do I have to do to be able to work from anywhere? It sounds a little bit over the top, but your brain is subconsciously accepting and digesting these words that you see on the page or that you're reading on the page. And so thinking through that emotional journey, thinking through those words carefully that you choose will help move your readers to action. The to portion is, how are we going to get people to this section where they need to convert? Verydesk was smart. They put the impactful imaging right up at the top of the page, right next to those poignant words, work from anywhere. So you start out at the top with that, how can we help? You go right below that call to action button with the main navigation, and you see this strategically placed graphic that grabs your eye, and you think, oh, I use a standing desk, or I use a platform desk. What is this? This relates to me. So you're catching them visually and then hitting them with those impactful words. The action step here is very, very clear. On the next page, let me just back up. If you click through to that Shop Now button under Work from Anywhere, then the next step is very easy. It's very clear. If you know already that you want one of these types of desks, you're going to select that option so that you can dig a little bit deeper, look at the different colors and so forth. If this isn't exactly what you want, you scroll down the page, or you can search Shop All, which is right above my little note there. It gives you all of your options in a very clear way. And your response step then is how they're going to get a hold of you again after they get that information. So I clicked through in my testing all the way to the cart. I did not buy anything this time, but I have before. I love Verydesk. When you get the confirmation messaging that you're ready to buy your product, it gives you a nice phone number, it gives you an email contact, and even a chat bot. So they're very responsive, and they are ready to take care of you. Whether you fill out that form, whether you abandon your cart with an item still in it, they're going to get back in touch with you and see how they can help. So really, Verydesk is a great example. They're creating those conversion pathways. They're looking specifically at pages and at stories to which they're driving traffic. So that image that we just showed you was their main homepage on their website, which for consumer sites, a lot of the time is a fairly heavily trafficked page. For all of us here on the call who maybe are in healthcare or education or the meeting and event planning world, we want to look at which pages we are specifically driving paid traffic to, talking about blog stories or sponsored content out on our sites or landing pages, and thinking about the specific journey pathways on those items, as well as the calls to action that we're using there. I'm going to give you a moment to absorb this, let's call it a masterpiece of a page. Grab a drink here. This is Amazon. I know people have mixed feelings about Amazon, so we're not going to linger too much on this, but I just wanted to show you an example of what happens when you're adding too much to a page to try to hit every audience. We call this too much didn't click, TMDC. There are a lot of items here that are unrelated. The brain and the eyes and the screen readers of the world enjoy structure. We like to know, okay, I'm going to look at this, and then this. This is just kind of a cluster. It's all over the place. And not to be too unexclusive, I would say, but the background is pink, which kind of speaks historically to femininity. But there's a lot of for men, men's activewear, men's fragrances, imaging of male individuals on this page. And it's just kind of a disconnect for audience members. So thinking about how you're organizing things as far as wording, coloration, imaging, try to picture your ideal user. Who is the person that you wanted to come to this page, and try to appeal to them broadly as a demographic. Target does this very well. This is a landing page that they have up right now for school supplies. They have one targeted audience here. It is parents or caregivers of children who are looking for school supplies. There are clear structural cues of where your eyes should go. You have clothing all up at the top. You have accessories and back to school items below with very clear labels on them. There are nice visual markers. There are a lot less words. If we look back at our Amazon, there, you just kind of have little pieces scattered here and there, but this is very clear. The options are much more limited than on the Amazon page, but they're substantial, they're relevant, and they're all related together. So just a much more seamless pathway there for your users. Kind of circling back to what we talked about right at the beginning, those effective CTAs need to be data-driven. They need to be driven by what your audience wants to do and needs to do. And all of those goals should reflect your business goals for that page. So for example, if your audience wants to buy masks, your goal should be to sell them the mask that they want. or give them a pathway to research masks so they can decide which one they want. You have all of these different angles and options, but ultimately your goals should be focused upon how are you helping your users achieve their goals. This is a page from Good Housekeeping's website talking about how to defog your glasses, or the best masks to prevent fogging of your glasses. They've used a variety of types of CTAs throughout this page. I just wanted to call your attention to some of these. Inline links are the ones that most of us are most familiar with. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but you can see that top arrow pointing down towards the paragraph below number 5 here. They have Textile Director Lexi Sachs as an inline link here. So if you're interested in learning about why they feel they are the experts and they can talk about this, you can click on Ms. Sachs' email bio or LinkedIn bio and check out her credentials and see what she's all about. So that's one way to help people do research. They have an image call out, which speaks more strongly to that actual conversion of buying and shopping. You're showing somebody an explicit image of what they could be purchasing. You're helping them have that visualization of how it might look on their face or their child's face, and then you're providing that shop now button right next door. You give the little call out, giving a little bit of detail, talking about the products itself, and then giving that very clear shop now button. So they're covering all of the bases, from thinking about who might need a mask to, okay, how do I know that you're a good enough expert to tell me what I need, to all the way down to that conversion point of buying. Good example. So it's really a win-win. Your consumer is getting the information they need, and you are getting that click to buy or click to get information. Either way, it's an engagement for you. This is a CTA example, a call to action example from one of our clients that we worked with recently, the University of New Mexico Health Sciences Center, College of Nursing. So last year, as all of you on this call have lived, our worlds were turned quite upside down. And so in the college recruitment world, especially for health centers where you have patients actively on your campus and things like that, recruitment got a little dicey, to say the least. And so the College of Nursing, or CON, as you might see it noted here, took a really unique and innovative approach. They decided to launch a virtual campus experience where they could hit a couple of different goals here. Being in New Mexico, they have a very diverse patient population in all ways. So religion, sexuality, ethnicity, gender, just all of these different populations of people that are very spread out throughout the state. And their hope is to attract a student population that really reflects that diversity, helping their patients feel really comfortable with care from somebody that is like them or looks like them. So they wanted to showcase that realistic diversity of their student population. They wanted to help prospective students see what success looks like on campus, even if they couldn't safely set foot on campus at that time. And they wanted to make it really easy for people to apply or to get information from their group. So you could see on the right here, all of the different types of CTAs that they're looking for are expressed right here very clearly on the homepage of their virtual campus experience. You can see speaking with students. There are some nice pictures here of a wide range of different types of people, different ages of people, different academic levels. You can get a chance to actively engage with alumni and hear where they are now, so you can picture that personal success for yourself. You can look at a video of whitewater rafting, which is not too far from the campus, and just really have a great time enjoying yourself personally there. And then there's a large call out right at the bottom of this very short, simple page that talks about how to get an appointment, so you can specifically talk to somebody there who's in the know, who can help you make your choice. Couple of other options that they opted to use on their site were some immersive videos. So we featured students, we featured residents, we featured faculty walking around doing all of the things that students can do. And this piece was particularly fun for me because it's virtual campus reality of somebody wearing VR goggles. I just love that duality. It's kind of fun. Helping people make connections on social media. If you can't be together in person, you can be together on our virtual platform and out there connecting with us in real life on social media. They have links to their Lobo Life page, which is like student life, resident life. They also have links to their very fun Instagram page that is run by their students. And they make it super easy with all of these different variations of how to get in touch with them. So not only can you schedule an appointment from that main page with the beautiful visual, you can click a 2-button call out throughout the site. It's strung through all the pages of scheduling an appointment or requesting more information, or you can go right to that book now. If you know a time and day that's free for you, you can grab that slot on their Calendly link, or you can browse what's available for those individuals if your schedule is more flexible. Just giving a lot of different options and a lot of different touch points that are all tied together. So I think of this webinar, that is one of the biggest takeaways that we want to make. We don't want to give the whole kitchen sink of options. We want to narrow down to a couple of different goals and give people ample opportunities and slightly different variations of those opportunities to make those connections and those conversions. Their success was quite quick to accumulate. So within just the first 30 days of their launch of their virtual campus experience, they achieved 1,500 page views, which was just huge for them. Over the next couple of months, the pages per session increased to up to 9, almost 10 pages. And what that means is that people were not just landing on the site and popping out, they were really actively exploring that site, digging deeper into the virtual campus experience, and also going into the department's actual pages that are standing on their regular site. They also increased their overall organic traffic to the site by over 50%. So huge. And Heather, who was one of the lovely faculty that we had the chance to work with there, had a lot of great things to say. She felt confident that they were coming up with innovative ideas to really use their existing assets to creatively connect with people and give them lots of different touch points, working within their budget to do this fun, action-oriented project. So that is a good segue for us when we're thinking about measurement and recording. There are a couple of different tools that we often use, and some of you on this call may have seen these from us before. We use Crazy Egg a lot. It is one of our favorite tools. We subscribe to Crazy Eggs to give us all kinds of different readouts on your pages. And when you're looking at CTAs and trying to decide which ones are performing best, or doing some A/B testing between different types of CTAs, like a button versus an image call out, you can use Crazy Egg to determine where people are going on your page, what they're clicking on, where their eyes are resting, even where they're stopping their scroll and pausing. So it gives you all kinds of great tips. So if you see all of these dots here over the different text, you can see in the bottom right corner, it says view all programs under there. Can't really see that with all the dots, but you can see that more people are clicking to that button and the education button than all of the others. So that is a good tip to maybe move some of those buttons up higher or make them a little bit more accessible for people higher on the page so they get right to that information. It's clearly what they're looking for. You have to combine these types of views with all of your other data. You can't just go by clicks, because especially on mobile, people get the fat thumbs and maybe click things by accident, or they're maybe navigating around to a whole bunch of things and then finally coming to that button and settling on that. You have to make sure that you're looking at all of your measurements in context and together to make sure you're getting the full picture. One tool that we like to use to help do that is Google Data Studio dashboards that are a free alternative to Google Analytics 360. This is a really cool tool because you can sort and filter your data by specific page, by the source of the traffic. For example, who's coming in off of Bing versus Google, who's coming in off of Facebook versus Twitter, things like that. You can look at the types of users, broken down by demographics if you have those set up. And you can also look at where people are coming in off of your paid and organic traffic. So this is really helpful for folks who are running campaigns, who are actively using their blogs. You can see what types of stories or what types of content resonate most with your readers and where to focus some of your marketing efforts. My favorite part of Google Data Studio is the ability to download data from all of the different widgets. So you can make funky little pie charts, you can pull tables and Excel sheets and things. And it's really nice for stakeholders who maybe aren't super data driven, but they like to see those visuals and they like that high level, okay, what happened? What did all of my money spent actually achieve for us? Helps you do that for them a little easier. If you take Google Data Studio and put it on steroids, that is Domo dashboards. This is a new program that we're starting with a lot of our clients, and it is customized, it is cloud-based, it gives you really robust visuals, real time to a point higher than what Google Analytics can give. And it also gives you that holistic data. You can see some of the clips here of widgets on the right-hand side. But just for everybody's knowledge here, we are a Domo partner, which means that we own a license for Domo, and our clients can use our programming and our expertise in this to help you generate some of these same types of widgets for your groups internally. So all of these CTAs that we've been looking at should be measured. You want to think about both online and offline measurements. And it feels a little bit weird to make those offline measurements tangible, but you certainly can in a lot of different ways. So online, on the left, there are those typical things that we just talked about already, adding in social shares, views, listens, things like that for audio elements and visual elements. When we're thinking about offline, you also want to try to measure some of those conversion points, like people walking in and mentioning, hey, I saw your flyer, or hey, I saw your ad on TV or social or connected TV. You want to think about your email opens and the traffic that might generate. And one that we really recommend and that we use frequently with a program called CallRail is creating vanity URLs and vanity phone numbers that can be used just in your print pieces or just in certain elements of your campaigns. A lot of our blog clients like to use them on their blogs. For example, we have worked with clients that ran large consumer-driven programs on their sites. They would use a vanity URL and a vanity phone number, which is a specific phone number that can ring to any line that you want, but it's given a set number of or a set phone number so that it only comes up on that page. And so if you get a call from that line, it'll have a little whisper message at the beginning that says, this person called in from XYZ campaign. So the people on the other end of the line will know where that person came from. And you can very easily track through their data that CallRail provides how many people were reached by that blog or that campaign and made that action step to call in. It sounds a little futuristic and a little creepy because it is, but it really works. And it allows you to track those print pieces. It allows you to track those offline conversions that are still getting traffic to your clinics, to your retail shops, and to your website. That is the end of our series here, but I want to turn it over to any of you who has questions. I see there's some comments in the chat here, and we'll take a look at that.
Thank you, Mariah. Maybe we should start our Q&A session, and if you haven't put in any questions yet, please feel free, either in the chat or in the Q&A area. So let's get to some here. Here's one. My CMS is fairly limited. What options do I have to implement CTAs?
Yeah, that's a great question. We see this quite frequently, and a lot of the times it's because the people that are responsible for writing the content don't always have access to that CMS. It can be really difficult to get a hold of the people that do because they're busy just like everyone else. So one thing that I often recommend to writers is to just write in those inline links. You could write in related reading type call out. So just put the words related reading in bold and put a hyperlinked phrase after it that is descriptive of what you're trying to get people to, or take the next step and have just a nice bold statement. Always CMSs typically allow for things like floating buttons. They typically allow for things like image callouts. So if you're not sure, put in a ticket with your website administrator or your IT team and ask for documentation of what's available. One, like I mentioned, easy fallback is those inline links. They work, people see them, and they're used to clicking on them.
Excellent. Here is another one. I started using CTAs and have had a limited response. What can I do to improve my return?
Yeah, this is one thing our digital strategy team does frequently with clients all across the board. So you might really understand the way that you've stated something, and you might really understand the pathway that you're taking people on. That doesn't necessarily mean that your audience understands it in the same way as you. So what we typically recommend in those instances is to do A/B testing. So send some of your traffic to one side with that original text, with that original layout, and send the other half of your audience to a different page that has slightly different wording, slightly different layout. See which one performed better. Do that comparison and then follow the data. Let it drive your next campaign and let it help you tweak things in real time so that you can get a larger mind share with those audiences. Great question.
Great, thank you. Here's another one. What tips do you have for CTAs on social media, specifically Instagram?
Oh, that's a good question too. So Instagram is wonderful for influencers and it's wonderful for visuals, not always the best for getting people to click on things. And so if you have a professional business that is trying to sell something, their shop now features really make things easy for that. And it just adds that little button right across the bottom of your post. If you are more of a trying to drive traffic to your own website type of an organization, Linktree is really nice. So if you can include that link in bio information in your post text or in your post image, you can direct people to look at your bio, they'll click that link tree, and it can take you to a nice landing page that has all of your different calls to action available. So you might have a shop now, you might have a read today's article, you might, whatever your industry specific need is or your audience's need. And that's a really easy way that people are used to doing to get them to that traffic that you want. With social, we really want to be mindful that people are scrolling. They're not actively looking for, hey, I'm specifically looking for, Frito-Lay's page and I want to see what they have to say. You want to grab their attention with a nice visual, with short but sweet words, and always, always, always using hashtags. People are more likely to search hashtags than they are for a specific business.
Great, thank you. Here we go. Should you save your CTA for the end of the story?
Nope, that's one of my favorite questions. We, as some of the examples that we showed, we infuse CTAs throughout every single step of the page. You don't want to hammer people with shop now every 5 paragraphs or every 5 sentences, but you want to give them something to do or something different to look at or engage with every couple of paragraphs at least. Using different types of callouts down the page is the best idea. So you might have a full width banner across, you might have a button, you might have inline links, you might have taxonomy driven features where it pulls in based on back end manipulations on the page to show related items, related programs, related events. Those are all different types of CTAs. And I think the main takeaway from that is don't try to overthink what you're doing with this hardcore strategy. Think, what is the next step somebody might take in this journey or this journey or this journey, and just apply 1 to 2 next steps for each of those pathways in your content. You'll be covering everything and it won't feel forced. It'll feel more natural.
Excellent. And do all industries need CTAs for their content?
Yes, I can't even think of one that wouldn't. So in very consumer driven places, like we looked at Target, we looked at Veridesk, it's obvious that they'll want those shop now, apply, download information about us, get a sample type things. In less tangible industries like Tyler, like the one that you work in and the one that I work in, we're in healthcare and meetings and event planning, publishing. You still need those calls to action because you still want to drive people to additional content or to additional services or to the next step of care or the next level that they're, from where they're at right now. So for meetings and events, it might be look at our ebook, it might be look at our clients' stats, it might be check out our client's website to see if this is where you want to hold your next event. For healthcare, it might be, request an appointment. It might be read about this physician's bio or rate this physician online, whatever that might be. We're directing our audiences, whether they are fellow business people, our colleagues, or consumers, into that next phase. So any industry, unless you just sell one thing and you don't care how much you sell of it, needs CTAs.
I'm going to be selfish here and ask something that applies to my industry.
Yeah.
I always wonder, like when I write an article, I'll put CTA, say, to drive people to other articles that are related to webinars we've done or maybe certain products. Should I, I always feel like if I put them at the very bottom of the article, say read next to a related article, should I be putting that up top more? Because maybe people don't go all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, that's a good question. I largely, well, thinking about how I read, and I think how a lot of people read, you scan those subheadings and you read the parts that are important. And if you see something that feels like there's a gap, you'll go back up and read the part that fills in the gap, right? We're all busy. We're like running around doing other things. So I think having it at the bottom is a really good idea, but having it in other areas too. So every couple of paragraphs, including hey, the paragraph above stated this idea, read more about that idea at this link, and just kind of going down. It feels natural. It doesn't feel intrusive because one, it's related to what you were just talking about. And two, people are so used to reading things that way in our generations that it doesn't interrupt their flow. It adds to the flow. If they're super interested in your topic, which, we can think maybe half or less of people are going to read the whole thing. They'll get down to that CTA, but if it's something that's very important that you really want to drive people to, put it up towards the top more. Good
Excellent, thank
question.
you.
Mhm.
And here's one more. Do you recommend CTA language on images like watch now, read more, buy now on an image that's related to the content?
Yeah, let me make sure I understand. So if you're thinking about embedding that text right within your image, that's a good idea. It helps people who can see, but you want to make sure that any of the surrounding text, your alt text, any photo captions or social media captions also include that directive, because the screen readers that people use can't pick that up. And if they're hearing it auditorily, you want to make sure that those images stand alone, and you want to make sure that the text stands alone. So you don't want them to be too reliant on each other, in case, for example, if it comes through on an email and the image doesn't download, and that's the only place that you had that watch more, learn more, etc., they won't know what to do next and they won't be able to see that. So include it, yes, on your image if you can, if it looks nice. Also include it in the related text. And then one more thing to think about for that on social media. I know the rules and the algorithms and things change every week, it seems like, but a lot of the times they require very limited text embedded on an image. So if you're going to boost this or put dollars behind this image, you want to make sure that your text is, I believe it's less than 20% of the image. I'll double check that with our digital team, but that was the last stat that I heard. Good question.
Very interesting. Well, thanks. And we're sort of getting near the end of our program, but is there any sort of overarching message you want to give to the audience,
Yeah.
being a subject matter expert?
Yeah, I think don't beat yourself up too much over it. There's no hard and fast rule that it has to be for every 5 pixels you have to have this, or you have to include X number of CTAs in your work. The only real rule is every page or every story that you put out needs to have at least one. There needs to be a what next with every single thing we do as marketers, or admissions or sales or whomever might be listening. You don't have to put 10. Sometimes you do need to put 10. It really just depends on the journeys that you're trying to touch. Try to streamline down to giving people limited options. So the example that we showed from Target is great. You have one set audience, you have 1 or 2 different things that they could purchase, and all of the items that you share or the services that you share are related. Try to avoid going the Amazon route. I don't mean that to be political. I mean that to be, don't just, barf up everything that you could possibly think of on one page and expect people to sift through it. Your whole goal is to make those conversion steps for whatever their goals are, your users' goals, easy to achieve. And by making their lives easy, they will make your wallets bigger, they will make your bosses happy, and they will make your stats bigger for your site.
Yeah, the one thing I notice on Amazon, and it just drives me crazy, like on Facebook, there'll be some product I'm actually interested in, and I'll click on it and it goes to some general Amazon page.
Yep.
And it aggravates me after a while.
Yeah, that kind of speaks to a lack of user testing. So, and that's a good point too, Tyler. Anytime that you're putting a CTA out there, especially for a landing page or a blog that you're driving traffic to with paid advertising, please walk through all of the steps, click all of the things, make sure everything works, not just on your device, do it on your laptop, do it on a big clunky PC sitting on somebody's desk. Do it on an iPhone and an Android. Make sure everything works across all of the devices, or you're unintentionally isolating a big chunk of your market.
Well, excellent. Thanks, Mariah. Great presentation. I certainly learned a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for all the questions that were submitted that we just didn't get time to, we will be following up with each of you in the next day or two. So look out for that. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again. And as a reminder, following the webinar, you will receive an email with a link to the recorded version of the webinar. So thank you again and have a great rest of the day.